Hey, we're back again for part 2 of Chuck Wagons.
Yeah, Chuck Wagons.
Who am I?
You're Frank.
And who are you?
I'm Anthony.
We're Frank and Anthony from Rodeo Rewind, back again.
And
what do you got for us this week?
So this week, we're continuing our Chuck Wagon adventure. And so, they're at Cheyenne. It's a competition. You buy a ticket.
Yes, sir.
And you vote.
Yes, sir.
You eat all of their food. And so, hope you enjoy part 2 of this interview. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, go back, stop this video right now. Stop it.
Stop it.
Go back, watch part 1, and then come back and watch part 2. You don't really need it.
But it would be good.
You might want to.
Yeah. You know, hopefully
that.
some history
Get
teachers
some
will show this to their kids, right? Awesome
Yeah.
stuff. See you in a bit.
Okay, so we're still in Cheyenne at one of the Chuck Wagons for the old frontier town, and we're here with some of the people who run them. And so, can we just go around the table and introduce ourselves?
What is the what is the official term? Are you cooks? Are you chefs? Are you what is the official term that we should use?
It's Chuck Wagon Cooks.
Chuck Wagon Cooks. Yeah. So,
I am Susan Patrick, and I am from near Watertown, South Dakota.
I'm Tom Ray, and I'm from Pampa, Texas.
Kevin Romans, and I'm from Pampa, Texas.
and were they similar? Was it similar to like the recruiting maybe for like Pony Express? Were they looking for you were an orphan, you had nobody to call to, and
Well, you had to be able to ride.
yep.
And
You know, the way back there,
Yes, sir.
before they had Chuck Wagons, they couldn't keep hands on the trail ride. They'd
Yeah, I couldn't
get
see.
off a little wall, and then
Yep.
they'd say, we're tired of
We're
it,
done.
you know. Yeah, we're done. So when Charles Goodnight got his and had a cook, and he could tell his hands, we're going to be eating all the way up, you know. So then he was able to keep his hands, you know, his cowboys
Sure.
on the trail.
And so, and I think it's really appropriate to have the Chuck Wagons at a rodeo. Historically, rodeo kind of started because
well, feeding cowboys. That's Chuck
but
Wagons.
because of the they didn't get paid right until the end of the drive,
Right.
and then they would gamble away their money. Who could do ranching tasks,
Yep.
chores quicker and better, right? And so it kind of goes hand in hand. There's a great book I'll have to let you read that I have, about the history of that. It's pretty interesting, you know.
So, was there a specific, like, when did Chuck Wagons start, and is it known, like, who or what trail they started on?
1866, Colonel Charles Goodnight.
And what,
I had to study that up a little bit, but that's supposedly when he started the Chuck Wagon.
so what trail was he going on?
He had him and who was his partner?
Loving. Was it Loving?
Yeah, Loving. Yeah,
Loving,
Oliver Loving. They had one trail that was kind of their trail, and then he would probably use some of the others, you know, kind of depending on.
So if you would be going, so you're a Chuck Wagon cook, and you would just be going with, like, anybody who would hire you. Would they be for hire?
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
good. Was the Chuck Wagon for
Probably-
hire, or was
probably.
it like on staff?
Probably a lot of ranchers would sell their herd to, and he would buy and you know keep increasing his herd all the way. I'm guessing. I don't know.
I mean, I remember not that long ago. There was a super bad. It was really so. There was drought in Texas. I remember one year. Then they sold a lot of cattle off in North Dakota. Not the same way that they moved, but they just were getting them to where they could graze. And you know, because that's. I mean, you can't lose that money
Well,
if you could avoid it.
the 4-6s, they moved a lot of their cattle way up north.
Makes sense.
One of the bigger ranches in Texas.
And pretty famous.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was
Just a little.
There was
Just a
more.
little.
There was more, you know, other ranches that did that too. But I know the 4-6s did.
And they move the cattle slowly, obviously,
Yeah.
because they want them
can't
to
move-
gain weight
Yeah,
as they go.
Yeah.
They don't want them to
Be
lose
skinny,
weight.
yeah.
You see in some of the movies they got them old steers kind of trotting, and I thought
No.
that
Yeah,
ain't
no.
that ain't the way you do it.
And I believe some of the cowboys, they would get horses that were very little experienced at the start of the
Yeah.
trail,
Yeah.
and hopefully be very experienced at the end, because
Yeah.
that was also money.
Right.
And so, was it the chuck wagons that were also in charge of feeding the horses and animals, or was that somebody
Now
else?
they had a wrangler. He was called the wrangler. He took care of the horses.
And how did they keep food fresh? Like, I'm guessing a lot of dried foods, salted foods.
You know, they'd have to keep it salted, and even at that, you know, it wouldn't last terribly long. So I'm saying they ate a lot of beans and cornbread, or
We eat a lot of
some
beans,
kind
yeah.
of bread.
Yeah, dry goods stay, right?
A lot of days or weeks probably you might not get any kind of meat. It'd just be, wouldn't that be right?
Well, and yes, and depending upon which trail they're on, like some of the more northern trails during late summer, or there's a lot of like apple trees, or I mean,
Okay,
think
yeah,
of the
yeah.
whole Johnny
Yeah.
Appleseed deal.
Who was a real person?
When you're cruising along and you see something when you're going, you notice that all these chuck wagons have a possum belly underneath them, or a way to gather some wood or,
Yeah.
or fuel along the way from the night camp to the next night camp, so that you wouldn't show up and say, "Oh, when's the truck coming with our firewood?"
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to also then pick up fresh herbs or what you might see when you're going along the trail that you would.
And my
be able
guess
to
is that
access
the
food.
trails were well thought out, right? Because you needed water.
Yeah.
So you were following probably a river or a couple rivers along the way, and probably paying attention historically, because if it was a higher elevation and you were going north, right? I know just from Louisiana, right? The bayous and the rivers flood around February because of the snowfall way up north. And I'm guessing some of those rivers and creeks could probably go dry, I'm guessing.
So predicting
Right.
your timeline based upon people's previous
Hey, a visitor.
experience. Oh yeah,
That's your
yeah,
pan
that's
or
mine.
Jack's? I'll set it on your tailgate.
Thank you, Daryl.
All right. I just want to make sure I put it in the right spot.
I appreciate it.
But
Sorry for leaving a mess.
Like on the plains, you know, there's not any wood out there at all. A lot
Oh.
of places, and they'd pick up buffalo chips.
Sure, well, right? Because I mean, probably I'm getting lots of already like organic. It's all organic
sure
material,
is,
and they're
it burns.
vegetarians, so it's not gonna.
So you're worried about the smell of the firewood getting in your food.
Yeah.
Let's think about that a little bit. It doesn't smell though. I mean, they dry and it's really hay and yeah, organic.
And which one of you has the most dental experience? Because I have a crack and I'm missing a chunk of one of my molars, and I don't have an appointment till the Tuesday we get back. And so if one of you would like to remove it now,
It's not. It's gonna be cold.
It's cold.
Morning.
It's cold.
so none of you have dental experience. All right, I mean I'm game.
I mean, really, you know, if you was on the trail drive and you had a bad tooth, you would go to.
You'd probably lose it.
Yeah, you would go to the
Yeah.
cook.
I wish
You know,
I would just lose it, but
and
no.
if two guys get to arguing out here, he would settle it.
Settle it?
Yeah. So.
But
that's-
I mean, even growing up, right? The kitchen is where everything kind of happened in my house growing up. It still does, right? We're gonna go see Grandma and Grandpa, and where are you gonna hang out?
Either the kitchen or the television.
That's it, right? And there always seems to be a half a pot of coffee. I'm not quite sure how it happens, but it's never above half, never goes below a half. But there's always coffee for you to drink. What's the secret to that?
Just keep adding to it.
I mean,
But,
there was
you know,
always coffee.
And like this is the fly, which is way bigger than what most of them would use. Theirs come out just a little past this table here probably, and it was the cook's area.
Yep.
You didn't come up and get in under that fly unless he invited you, and you didn't tie your horse to the wagon.
Or come running in and throw dust
Yeah.
around because you wouldn't get much to eat that night.
So the chuck wagon's kind of determined. The chuck wagon cook's kind of determined.
Sort of like Grandma, the justice
Yeah.
happened there.
Margin charge.
Well, thanks for doing this with us.
That was great. It was a
bet.
great little visit.
Yeah, well, it was certainly fun to. It's nice people are still interested in it because there aren't, hundreds and hundreds of wagons around, especially people who are ready to come to a place like this and hook up and meet with people who are interested in history and learning about things and seeing the authentic things that some of these guys take years to collect.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was well worth.
They'll have a kids cook off here Friday, and it's from what, age 9 to 17. You can get in it.
Well, next year, man, we maybe.
But it's trying to get the kids interested in it so that it will carry on.
So yeah, so I mean, if you had something you wanted a young person to know about this, what would it be? If you like, because I think a lot of our viewers are kids.
Well,
And the families, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that to me, one of the biggest things, and he's had grandkids here for every year I've watched them grow up, and it's just be present in the moment and notice, and you can learn so many things. I mean, whether it's about cooking, whether it's about learning from others, we meet people here from everywhere, as you do at other cook-offs when you go to those places. But for kids, I think it's just, you know the type that sit on the phone all the time, and even though they go places, they really don't go places.
Right.
And so it's like, you don't get to have your phone this afternoon for a few hours, which then will allow you to be fully present. And your grandkids, I mean, he'd whistle, and they'd know they show up, and they'd know they cut wood, and they'd know they do this, and so you kind of develop your routine because there's a lot of respect.
They work when they're on this wagon, and I would almost guarantee you that I could let any one of them kids take this wagon, and they go do a good one.
They could go cook. They could cook. I wouldn't question a 5-course meal for 40 people without needing to phone a friend.
That's one of the things that I think I worry. I think I'm lucky. We're very engaged and present in where we are, but starting to share with people how we engage and how we are present. I worry that it's going to make us less present and less engaged because we have to set things up and that. So I think just being aware of that might be good.
I think it teaches kids to, and I'd preach mine all the way up here. I said, all right, when we get there, it's yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, none, and they pretty well kept up with it.
I mean, if I would walk up here to sit down, they'd get up.
Yeah.
Chair, Susan.
But they can visit with other people and kind of learn how to talk to other people and not just kind of stand back in the corner. You're gonna have to talk to somebody up here.
Oh yeah.
It's just, but they really enjoyed it.
I know.
Thanks for doing this again.
You bet.
I have to get some food in him. We have not eaten much
Do you
today.
want some lasagna?
Do you want some lasagna?
Or don't you like lasagna?
I can't eat it. I have some allergies.
I have a nut allergy, but
Do you want to eat it?
Have you got an allergy?
Do you want to?
Have you got an allergy against cinnamon roll?
I do. You know what? It's wheat. I can't eat wheat. I used to be able to eat wheat.
How
So I
about you?
can't
How
eat
about
wheat
you?
anymore.
How about you?
Can you have a say, dude? Jump on it. Or you can hit stop.
They're doing a little
Thank you.
podcast that's a father-son from...
Was a super
great
fun.
interview to do.
We enjoyed it so much. We hope you enjoyed it. We like when it's like
We like
this.
doing this.
Yeah,
It's fun for us.
Yeah. So
And so the next 2 weeks we got a few,
we have a
really
couple. We have like
big-
3 good weeks coming up.
3 good fun weeks.
Yep. I did
And
an
then
interview.
we're gonna get to back into the news.
Back into the news.
We're gonna do a joint
We have
interview.
a couple joint interviews. We have one coming up with
One of-
Gail
in
Eubanks
our
Warner.
opinion, the most important rodeo historian of all time.
I'm reading right now. I'm
I've
reading
already finished
a
this
book on barrelmen.
I finished that already.
And Anthony,
and
what
you
are you
read this
reading?
a while back.
I read this a while ago.
And I am reading the Cowboy Turtle Association.
So, but we're gonna
But-
visit
and-
with Miss Gail. It's gonna be awesome.
And
We'll show
I-
that visit.
one book I want to read once I finish this one is her book on the history of barrel racing,
Yes.
because that's one of my favorite
And then
events.
we see you next week.